Perfect. All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and call the regular board meeting to order for Western Municipal Water District at 9:30 this morning, and happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone. Madam Secretary, could we please read in our COVID protocols?
Thank you, President Dinstedt. In an effort to protect public health and prevent the spread of COVID-19, and in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, the public may view this board meeting online or virtually, as there will be no public location for attending in person. This meeting is live streamed online at WMWD.com. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the district or any item on the agenda may make comments virtually or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. May 4th, 2021 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom virtual meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. You can access the raise hand feature by opening the participant list and clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of the list. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Galliano.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Rizvi. Director Rizvi.
Good morning. I'm here. I'm sorry. I was on mute.
No problem. Director Gardner.
I am here.
Thank you. Director Torres. Director Torres.
Here.
Thank you. President Dinstedt.
Good morning, I am present. Thank you.
Good morning. President Dinstedt, you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe we have another one of our staff members who has recorded the pledge.
Sharon Druin from our operations group is here to do the pledge for us.
Fantastic.
I'm Sharon Druin. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Director Dinstedt, we did have a request to modify the agenda and pull an item. Mr. Frey, you want to talk about that?
Hold on. We're going to move to public comment, folks. Hold on. There's an item that should be added to the agenda. There's a couple of different things. So let's move to public comment first.
Yeah, I mean, if I may, just real briefly, if the members of the public who wish to speak on an item on the agenda and it's an item that's going to be pulled, we just wanted to make that clear for the record and for the public now. Of course, members of the public can still talk about the item during the general public comment, but they can speak about it and or again once the item returns to the agenda later. So just to make sure that the public is aware of what's being on the agenda or not, I think a request was made to pull item 8C by Director Torres, and she's the one that had it placed on the agenda. So we just wanted to get that done now to make sure the public is aware of what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frey. Director Torres, did you have any comments in regard to this item and what your request is?
My request is to pull it. I think council was very clear.
Okay. Are there any other comments from any other board members in regard to pulling this item or moving forward on the agenda? Okay, I understand that we have this item on there, and I'm kind of taken back and a little surprised that given the fact of Director Torres, you were so adamant that we were ignoring this for last year, and you really wanted to move this forward.
The reason I had it pulled, and I discussed this with Craig early today, I figured he would have let you know, President Dinstedt, is because my understanding from the board meeting before was that staff was going to work with me on language or or a little bit more direction. And I literally haven't talked to Craig since. So I was surprised to see it on the agenda, and it obviously didn't go through me. I would have answered the questions on the board packet had they talked to me, which they didn't. And I didn't want to, say all this right now, but since you're asking, that's the reason it's being pulled. I would like a little bit more time to prepare with staff so that when it comes to the board, there is something more than this, and that is unclear, this, and that is unclear. I would love to give clarity once staff has contacted me.
Well,
that's why I had it pulled.
Okay, Director Torres, I wasn't aware that staff was going to reach out and contact you in our discussions. That was just a staff report that was going to come forward. Your opportunity was to be able to discuss the item once it got put on the agenda and bring forward all of your ideas, since it was your idea and this is something that you wanted to do. And you have the opportunity to fully vet that and present that to all of the board here today and allow people to comment, so they should choose to do that on this item. So are you saying that you don't want to comment on it today and you don't have a presentation?
I think it's absolutely unfair for my colleagues, my board members, as well as anybody who called in for public comment to have an item on the agenda that is not fully vetted and well authored. And I would love the time to take time with staff to author something that is a lot better written than what we have in our board packet today, if that's okay, President.
And President Denstead, if I could just comment on that a little bit. Staff was directed to bring this back to the board. There's a staff letter. All of our letters are staff letters that come to the board for the board's consideration. I did reach out to Director Torres some time ago. We had a meeting to discuss all these items and we didn't get a response. I've called her twice since to get a response on all these questions. So staff just went forward and wrote the staff letter, like we write all staff letters, and we were requested to put it on the agenda, so we put it on the agenda. So.
I'm sorry, did you not have my phone number after our last board meeting? Because you haven't contacted me since then.
Director Torres, it's standard procedure that when we have items put on the agenda, that the board members don't dictate what's going into the staff presentation for bringing that item forward. So I don't know that that's going to be a change if it comes back to the agenda at a later time. You are certainly able to do any type of presentation in order to advocate for your position. You were very adamant about being able to do that at the last board meeting when we were having a discussion to put it on the agenda. So you are certainly welcome to do that today. I'm sorry, I'm not finished speaking, Director Torres.
I wasn't either, and
okay.
You're convoluting my message. You're convoluting my message on purpose, and I won't allow it. I won't allow it.
Director Torres, you are certainly welcome to do a presentation if you'd like to do that.
During the last board meeting, I was under the understanding that I would work with staff to get something to you so you could vote on. That has not happened. No. I would love the opportunity, and I said this very politely, I would love the opportunity to come back with something well manicured by me and staff. So that's what I'm asking for. I have already asked for the item to be pulled. If I was wrong, I would love to defer to my other board members. Maybe I misunderstood something, but my understanding was that staff was going to work with me so we could present something wholesome. That was my understanding, President.
So whether or not there's a reason for having it pulled, this item was requested by Director Torres and she wants to pull it. So I don't see that we need to get into right now as to what happened and why. It's a matter that needs to be pulled. I think there's clear comments from both the board and staff as to how we can move forward and get it on the agenda for a future meeting when it's ready to go.
Just to say something, I was under the impression as well that this was going to be worked with the staff. I don't know how it works with staff and the director, but I really thought that that was going to be worked with the staff and Director Torres.
No, I just
don't know how it works. Yeah.
Right. No, and I appreciate that, Director Rizvi. In the past, staff has not has put board packets and board letters and presentations and have I've never collaborated with on an agenda item. So in my time sitting here on this board, I know that the direction that was given during the discussion for I believe it was 3 requested items at the time that Director Torres on our last agenda, the only direction that was given was for her to reach out to legal counsel to draft another proposal or another resolution or some other verbiage that was to be conducted, because we weren't quite understanding what it was that she wanted to do, and that was the only understanding that I had on that one particular item, which was not this item. So,
President Dempsey, that was a
President
request.
Dempsey, I just want to be very clear. So I can work with legal counsel for that item, but I can't work with staff for this item. That you're speaking out of both sides of your neck. So I would like the opportunity to, Craig, give me a call after this board meeting. I will answer the questions on the board packet so that when we present, or when I present, however you want to see it, it is something wholesome. I would like that opportunity. Can I be afforded that opportunity, Mr. Miller and President Denstad? Is that okay?
And I'm not speaking out of the both sides of my neck. I believe the comment is outside both sides of your mouth. But in terms of this was for a resolution, and staff have been able to provide input on resolutions that were being brought forward. This, however, is a different type of proposal that you're requesting staff time to be conducted on, moving forward with a totally different item that will be using district resources. And so that has been something that staff has not collaborated with board members on. So it's 2 totally separate things in terms of what my understanding is.
I really think you're grasping at straws, because before this, he even said he tried to get my questions answered, and I didn't respond. The pandemic happened. I already explained myself with all of this. So he already tried to collaborate with me before. So why all of a sudden can't he now?
I'm going to have to leave the meeting at 11:20, so I suspect that what we should do is just table this item and bring it back later, and let's move on.
Okay, and if that's the consensus of the board,
work with staff.
Director Torres, if that's the consensus of the board, then that's what we will do. Mr. Gardner.
I do think it would be helpful to have in the report, whoever the author may be, some clarity as to how this group would be created and organized. Essentially, the questions that staff has posed. I do think it is Director Torres who knows the answers, and I think it might be easier for staff if she were to write something down that she would be comfortable with staff including in the report. I don't think it's really our general manager's job to write for one of us, but I think tabling it for now is probably a good idea. And if Director Torres is able to provide language that she would like to see in the report that addresses more specifically what it is she's hoping to accomplish, I think that would be valuable.
Thank you, Director.
Director Risby, any other comments?
No, agreed with exactly what Mike said.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pull the item. Moving on to public comments. Madam Secretary, do we have anybody online who has indicated they wish to publicly comment today?
President Denstad, I do not see anybody raising their hand, and I have not received any written comments.
Okay.
I unmuted here.
I'm sorry?
I think we have a comment.
Okay. Let me go ahead and make our public comment section here then, if we have somebody that's wishing to speak. Public comment, folks, today is limited to 3 minutes. We ask that it be under the jurisdiction of Western Municipal Water District and the ability for this board to be enacting upon it. If it is not a comment within our jurisdiction, it is not appropriate at this time. So with that, we will go ahead and invite our caller to do public comment. Go right ahead.
Thank you, caller. If you could please identify your name, and then you will be given 3 minutes to speak.
Well, thank you. Good morning. My Conder, and I live in the city of Riverside.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning,
Condon.
Mr. Conder. Go ahead.
Good morning. Well, I'm calling in first of all to show my support for Western Municipal Water District, all of the staff and the board of directors. You all do such a great job, and I've enjoyed working with you for many, many years. And just again, calling in to show my support. I'm also wanting to show my support for Director Torres for her item 8C that she wanted to reach out to the public and find out what their issues with water were. And I commend her for being proactive. But at this time, as we're all trying to save money, I want to make her aware that we already have a vehicle where she can do that. We have a very large following with our public meetings that we have within our districts. And I'd like to invite her to come anytime she wants and speak. We always have Western on the schedule, and she would be more than welcome to come, and she could find out that way. And we wouldn't have to spend money and burden staff with unnecessary work. The governor, of course, has shut down our meetings as of last March, but he's looking to reopen on the 15th of June, and we're working madly fast to find some dates in July where we can again have our public meetings with our residents, that they can come out and talk to us, and we can find out what their issues are. So Director Torres, you're more than welcome to come. We always have a place for you on the agenda, and that way you can find out what's going on from a great deal of the public without having to form additional bureaucracy and cause extra staff time and cost of money. So again, I just wanted to show my support for all of you. I appreciate what you do. As we used to say back when in Wyoming, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. And you guys do a great job making sure we have safe water for all of our residents. So thank you very much, and I wish you all a very blessed day.
Thank you, Mr. Conder, for your comments. We certainly do appreciate the partnership with you as well. Thank you for your service, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Council Member. I'll reach out to you about those meetings.
Okay, and is there, Madam Secretary, is there any other individuals who wishes to speak under public comment that have raised their hand or indicated to otherwise that they are here for public comments?
President Dinstead, I do not see any additional members of the public.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to presentations. Today we have a presenter, Mr. Mosier, coming as the new general manager from SAPA. I wanted to make sure that we invited him to do an introduction to Mr. Mosier. We are certainly excited about him being the new general manager and leading SAPA forward. And I asked that he bring a presentation on behalf of my two colleagues that represent Riverside and the collaborative effort that SAPA is engaging in with the city of Riverside on some projects and some efforts to help the customers there. They're not our direct service customers, but I certainly wanted our Riverside representatives to be aware of that collaboration and those efforts moving forward, should you ever have the opportunity to speak on that or being asked questions of that. So with that, welcome, Mr. Mosier. We are certainly excited to meet you and introduce you to our board and hear your presentation today, sir.
Thank you, President Dinstead. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here to give you an example of what SAPA is doing within the watershed. All of our work is very collaborative, and I think that's a theme that runs through it. This is a good example where we're working with the city of Riverside. It's not a member agency, but it's indicative of us being able to have a broad reach within the watershed. So I want to thank Western for all the support you provide to SAPA. It's extensive. It goes back a number of years, decades even. And I want to thank.
Uh-oh, he froze.
Oh, hang on, Jeff. We've lost you.
Is it our side or is it his side?
No. It looks like we're all good. Director Rizvi, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so it's him.
Okay. Oh, dear. I don't know how we go with that. And he's probably doing the presentation thinking we're all paying attention to it right now, right?
He absolutely is. He's doing the best presentation ever right now.
No, and this is a great presentation, too.
And while we have an opportunity, I make a motion that we pass the consent calendar.
All right, we'll try to come back.
I second it.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar, folks. And come back to Mr. Mosier hopefully in a minute when he corrects. So we'll see if we can get that done. Madam Secretary, is there anybody who has indicated they wish to speak on any consent calendar item?
I do not see anyone.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Can we go ahead and call for a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Director Galliano.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Director Risby.
Yes.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres. Director Torres.
Yes.
Thank you. President Denstedt.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any items to be added to our agenda today, Mr. Foray?
Not from legal, thank you.
No, there's nothing to add to the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to our action agenda. And Spencer, if you could let me know when you have Mr. Mosier back, so we can move on.
Brenda, this is Jeff. I'm back.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I want to go ahead and give you your opportunity. You kind of cut out and froze on us, so we'll go bring the presentation back up. And if you want to kind of start all over, that would be great.
Right. So was it something I said? I'm not
right?
sure.
No.
I'm kidding. So I was just reminding everyone who our member agencies are: SAPA, Orange County Water District, Eastern Valley District, and IUA, in addition to Western. So it's a great group of folks to work with. So I joined SAPA as GM back in mid-February, so it's been about 2 months. There's still a lot to learn. I'm working through a 100-day plan, which was a request from the commissioners, particularly Commissioner Denstedt. It's a very useful process. It's really a needs assessment, and that's going to wrap up in June and will culminate with a board workshop. So at that point, we'll have a bit more feedback in terms of where we think SAPA is and looking to the future. And maybe just a few seconds on my background. I'm from the East Coast. I worked in DC for over 10 years. I've worked for consulting firms, nonprofits. I managed a JPA previously for 11 years. And a lot of my work over the years has focused on cutting edge issues, innovation, particularly with water quality and treatment. That's very relevant to what we do in the watershed. And also water reliability, things like desal, desalting, recycled water. And a big part of the theme that has characterized my career has been stakeholder processes and involving different stakeholders in the process. So just wanted to get that across. I think it's very aligned with what SAPA is trying to do. So today I was asked to talk about a program we have. It's been very successful, and I think it represents sort of the types of things that SAPA is very good at. Working on things that are multidisciplinary. In this case, with the WECAN, which is the Water Energy Community Action Network, it takes into account both water and energy use, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So I'll go through this very briefly, and then I have one slide on other things that we're doing with Western and with SAPA. So next slide. So the WECAN program started in 2014 with a grant to DWR. The funding for that grant came from the California Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which is funded by cap and trade dollars. And I think that's very relevant with the idea that some of our future funding is going to come from these innovative or sort of non-conventional pots of money that aren't directly water, but relate to some of the issues. The one we're seeing now, like in the future bond, would be climate resiliency. So we have to figure out how to align our projects to be able to get future grant funding to be able to address these issues. So this grant program in 2014 really focused on the water energy nexus and the relationship between water savings and energy savings. And the purpose of WECAN really had this idea of both turf and water fixture replacement. We're focusing more on turf now. I'll talk about that in a second, rather than fixture replacement. There were some logistic issues with that. There's no cost to the residents, and it expands or builds on existing conservation programs, so it's very synergistic in that way. The other thing that's very important about the program, and this came from the DWR grant, is it supports low-income communities. And I'll talk about that in a second, but it's really low-income or disadvantaged communities that these grants are focusing on. So there were two phases before, one in 2014 with DWR. We came up with the logo and the name as part of that. It was so successful. There was a 2016 grant with USBR that we were able to expand on it. And the one I'm going to talk about today is a new, an expansion of We Can with the City of Riverside under a new grant program called the Transformative Climate Communities. Next slide. So here's just the results of phase 1 and phase 2. So again, it was indoor fixtures and turf removal. So these are the numbers of, you know, the replacements for the fixtures. Want to focus on the turf removal. There's a lot of acre feet here with our partners on the two grants, Anaheim, Fontana Water Company, Arupa, West Valley Water District. So total 229,000 square feet of turf was removed. That is approximately 1,000 homes. It's about, 250 homes. It's about 1,000 square feet per home. So it's very successful, but we really focused in on the turf removal as a bigger bang for the buck. So the next slide. So just to give you an idea of the program, there are homes in the community, and it's front yard only, but there's homes in the community that sign up. There's an outreach program by the cities and by SAPA and our contractors to find folks to sign up for this. There's no cost to them. There's an assessment. Once there's an approval, the removal installation happens by a contractor. And then there is a follow-up afterwards to ensure there's plant growth. And if you look at the bottom photograph, you know, it's attractive, it's well done. I mean, I really think it's a benefit for the homeowner as well as the community. And on the next slide, I'll talk about how much water savings we have as part of the TCC program. But let me just go over that first. So the City of Riverside, this is really their project, and we partnered with them. They brought SAPA on to handle the water conservation component. But there's other components here that are related to urban greening, solar, and transit operations. And the goal of this grant program is to reduce greenhouse gases and improve local air, you know, reduce pollution, and to focus on communities that are impacted by pollution. The cities are allowed to tailor their program, so it's very flexible. And the funding comes from the California Strategic Growth Council, which is part of the state, and its focus is on thriving, resilient communities. Again, this is funded by cap and trade dollars. So on the next slide is the area that City of Riverside is focusing on. They've selected this area based on, there are databases that the state have. This one they use is EnviroScreen, which looks at income and disadvantaged communities. We're able to focus in on locations that they would want to target as part of the low-income community aspect of it. So it's part of the East Side and Riverside. Here's a map. Although the City of Riverside is the lead, Riverside Public Utilities would focus on the water conservation. Next slide. So just in terms of the amount of money, the TCC grant provides $593,000. City of Riverside, and this is just for the We Can portion of water conservation. City of Riverside is providing $100,000, so the total budget $693,000. The goal will be to remove turf at 100 single-family residential properties. And this is what I wanted to emphasize. We can measure the outcomes in terms of water savings, how much water would be saved due to reduction in irrigation, and energy savings associated with not having to pump out groundwater for the water supply. So this is the connection between water and energy that's very important. Next slide. So in terms of the schedule, we're in the procurement phase now. We'll be releasing an RFP to select a contractor. The contractor would do the turf removal and the installation of the irrigation system and the plants. So that will be going out in the July timeframe. A particular importance for this type of project is outreach to customers. So we'll develop a plan that will be a combination of SAPA, the contractor, and working with the city. But that outreach is going to be critical in order to get those applications. And the goal is to remove that 100,000 square feet in about a 2-year time frame. Next slide. So the benefits of this type of program, the larger benefits is, collaboration, working with other agencies and water utilities in the region, having SAPA provide that role for the region. A lot of cities and water districts look to SAPA to provide that coordination. And I'll talk a little bit that in terms of our task force outside of this, but it's really critical that we're viewed as being able to administer these things effectively, hire out the contractors, get the work performed. And again, in terms of the benefits, it's consistent with our One Water, One Watershed plan in terms of engaging disadvantaged communities, implementing water conservation programs, and this idea of looking at this water energy nexus in terms of water savings and energy savings. So that's all I had on the WECAN program, but I have one more slide on other SAPA activities, which is the next slide. So just want to run through these with you just so you have an idea of some of the successes we've had and some of the things we're working on. So our One Water, One Watershed, or OWL program, that's our Integrated Regional Water Management Program. And as you know, there's grants through the state in terms of the water bonds that SAPA administers on behalf of the state. So that is through our OWL program. And there's one in particular I want to highlight, and that's our Santa Ana River Conservation and Conjunctive Use Project. It's a long name. SARCUP is a lot easier to say, but it's, I think, an ideal project that SAPA would lead. It involves all our member agencies. It has habitat as well as water supply and water conservation components. Western received $26.3 million of the $55 million under Prop 84, rounds 1 through 4 for this. It's working on groundwater conjunctive use, and I wrote this down, the Elsinore, Chino, and Riverside Arlington groundwater basins within the service area, and it's funding facilities, pump stations, wells, pipelines to be able to optimize that SARCUP project. The other thing that we do is task forces, and Western and our other members and a number of our stakeholders in the region participate in these. One reason why they're so effective is that the regional board participates in these. And what we're able to do is have a dialogue on, potentially difficult regulatory water quality issues. And we're able to do things, studies, work that feed up to the regional board that result in sensible and responsible regulations and permit requirements. And that's been a big success for many agencies within the watershed. So just a couple that are important to Western, a basin monitoring program task force that's looking at monitoring water supplies in the basin in terms of supporting TMDLs. Our emerging constituents, this was an issue going back about 10 years about what the regional board would do through a voluntary program that's been very successful. We do monitoring, and it prevented the need to have those monitoring requirements in permits by doing it a voluntary program. So that's been very successful. The third one is a water quality management program that the Flood Control District in Riverside County participates in. So it's not just our member agencies, but it's important to these other entities. And the Middle Santa Ana River TMDL Task Force, that includes several cities within Western service area, and we're going to have a revised basin amendment that's going before the regional board probably in the August meeting. So that's a culmination of 3 years of work. So these tend to be lengthy, but they're very interactive. So I just want to remind you of other initiatives. Our Project Agreement 22, this is how we're organized, works on water demand. Project Agreement 24 is the brine line. And the last one I'll mention is a program that SAPA is administering on behalf of its member agencies. It's on weather modifications. It's effectively cloud seeding. We're taking very small steps, doing studies to see if this is something that's viable for our region or not. So that's something that we're currently involved in now. So President Denstadt, that's all I had, and I'll turn it back to you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mosier. Certainly appreciate that presentation, and I wanted to share that with my colleagues from the Riverside representation that we have on our board and make sure that they were aware of this collaborative effort that we are doing with the region and with Riverside Public Utilities and the city, and that this is such a benefit for those low-income, disadvantaged communities to be able to try to reduce the energy usage, try to reduce their water usage, try to own in some of their own expenses and bills by taking advantage of this program and meeting with these grant funding. So this is just a wonderful opportunity that we continue to collaborate on. So with that, is there any questions from my colleagues from Riverside?
I don't have a question. I'd like to thank Jeff for his presentation and comments. The area in Riverside where the weekend program is focused is part of our 2nd division, so Director Torres. Coincidentally, it's Ward 2 in Riverside, so it's the to place or the go-to place. It is a good neighborhood for this kind of a program. I know that neighborhood well, and I think this is a great place for it. So, Jeff, thank you for everything. Good presentation, and I enjoy being an alternate to SAPA. Every once in a while, I hope that Brenda won't be able to make a meeting, but she doesn't do that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Director Torres, any questions or comments for Mr. Mosier?
No, this all looks wonderful. As you know, I work at Riverside County Flood Control, so I've had extensive opportunities to see the work that SAPA does, and I really do appreciate it. Notably, the TMDL work that you're doing. I don't know if you knew this, Mr. Mosier, but I did the jar treatment for the alum treatment at Canyon Lake. That was my study. Yeah, that was my study. So it's really awesome to just see it come out into fruition and then work on this side of the table when it comes to water and water regulations. I do have a question about SAPA's position, if they're taking one on AB 377.
Yes, thank you for that question, Director Torres. We submitted a letter on behalf of our member agencies opposing that. I think you're probably very familiar with it, but it creates a lot of concern on our part in terms of flexibility for the regional board in terms of being able to have, max benefit type regulations where you have flexibility within permits. That's the intent of that bill, isn't to get those off the table, but we think that it does nonetheless. The real focus is stormwater, but it could have some real impacts in our work in the watershed. So we do have a letter. We could share that with you if you wanted to see it.
Yes, please. I would love to see. I've been trying to collect comments on just to make my own recommendations before it comes out. I know it came out of appropriation, so I was wondering. Yeah. Otherwise, very, very wonderful presentation. The Santa Ana River is in my heart, and so I really love seeing the work that SAPA is doing. Thank you. And thank you, President Densah, for representing us.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. The only thing I'll add is that we do have a very active legislative committee. It includes the legislative staff from the different member agencies, and they're fantastic. And we actually meet weekly. It's not every week, sometimes it gets canceled, but we're able to respond on a watershed regional basis based on that work. So that's something that's very effective that SAPA does.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and Director Torres, to answer your question on the AB 377, yes, that SAPA board took a position of opposition against that, and letters were written and sent off. So that happened a board meeting or two ago, I believe. So that we're very attuned and spend a lot of time on legislation and things that affect the watershed as a whole, and make sure that we collaborate as a unified body to object to things that are going to be harmful to us. So, so rest assured that is done, and we're happy to share that letter with you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mosier. Certainly appreciate your comments today. Welcome to SAPA. We certainly work together well, and I'm looking forward to our long and happy relationship there at SAPA and getting a whole bunch of stuff done. And this is one of the projects that I certainly wanted to highlight for our board, that it's such a benefit to, a joint service area that we have, and we do have interest in all of these types of things. So thank you so much. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, President Denstad. I do appreciate it, and the board.
Great. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And you're certainly welcome, to Mr. Mosier, to sit and listen to the rest of our agenda if you'd so choose. I don't want to push you off. All right, folks, we have jumped down to our action agenda on 8A. Mr. Miller.
All right, thank you very much. Item 8A on the agenda is the consideration of adopting Resolution 3169, supporting the nomination of Director Joe McKenzie to the California Special Districts Association Board of Directors. Director McKenzie reached out to Western to seek support. This is for what they call the Southern Network Seat A. Director McKenzie has been very active at CSDA since 2003. We brought this item through our Communications and Government Committee. That committee endorsed that recommendation and wanted to have it placed on the agenda for board consideration. So with that,
I'll move.
Okay.
Second.
Do we have a
I think
motion?
we had a motion and a second. Who made the motion? We couldn't quite hear it.
I will
Director
make one
Torres.
if there isn't one.
Director Torres made the
Director
Director Torres made the
okay.
motion, and I heard a second
Okay.
also.
Yes, I believe that was Galliano.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second, folks. Any comments, questions, concerns? All right, anybody to speak publicly on this item?
I see no members of the public requesting to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and call for the vote. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Director Galliano.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Risby.
Yes.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Thank you. President Denstad.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
thank you very much. Moving on to 8B on our agenda. Mr. Miller.
All right, item 8B is to consider the adoption of Resolution 3161, supporting the nomination of our director, Brenda Denstedt, to the Association of California Water Agencies Region 9 Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, anybody wishing to comment publicly on this item?
I see nobody requesting to speak.
Okay, any other comments from board members?
I have a comment.
Okay,
I just want to say that although we don't always tend to agree, I can vouch, I guess, for the fact that Director Denstad will do absolutely everything in her power to represent us well. I think that regardless of what she has on her plate, she ensures that she is there, that she does her best, and I think this statewide position that she'll do the same there. And so when we get to it, I will support for that reason.
thank you for those comments, Director Torres. Much appreciated. Okay, Madam Secretary, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Galliano.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Risby.
Yes.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres.
Yes.
President Denstad.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
thank you very much. I do appreciate that, folks. I do intend to continue to push forward on our Region 9 agenda and making sure that we have adequate representation and we are actively involved in our state issues. And we have made a couple of amendments to the bylaws that we'll be pushing forward to hopefully be supported at the next Aqua conference, and that is to increase participation in that committee across the region and allow for individuals, and we've changed some of the arid and some of the desert to match up better, align with common interest. So we're hoping that that will be successful when we move to Aqua's board, Aqua's conference. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Moving on to our reports, we have pulled item 8C for a future agenda at the availability for a future agenda item. So we'll move on to our reports section and move on to staff reports. General Counsel, Mr. Ferrer.
Yes, Madam President, I don't have any to report today.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on
There's
to,
more.
Sorry. I just want to, sorry, excuse me, President. Can we, I know that Director Galliano has to leave early. Is there any way we can move on to the closed session items? They seem very important and wouldn't want him to miss them. Before we do director reports.
Director Galliano, are you here till 11:20, or are you needing to leave?
Yeah, I've got to get out of here at 11:20.
Okay, Director Torres, I believe we should be able to hammer this out pretty quickly.
Okay.
So unless, Mr. Miller, you have a lengthy report.
Consideration, I appreciate it.
Hear what Don said. Can you repeat that, Director Galliano? We didn't catch all of that.
I said I appreciate everybody's indulgence, but this is a crazy time for me, and I have a lot of stuff to do, so I appreciate your patience.
No, we completely understand. So if you're got quick, or is it going to be lengthy? Because I don't want I don't want to lose Director Torres's point. I don't want to lose Director Galliano in closed session.
We have 3 really quick updates.
Okay,
We'll go quick.
let's just hammer through it really quick, folks, and see if we can just close this portion of our agenda and move to closed session.
All right. The first one, our Director of Human Resources, Candy Judd, has a real quick PowerPoint on the completion of our Boxes of Hope program.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Craig. Good morning, President Instead, board members, staff, and the public. I am so pleased to present this item. We at Western had the opportunity to engage with the City of Riverside, specifically their Neighborhood Engagement Division, which is under the Community and Economic Development Department. And we also engaged with Lynn Heatley over at Love Riverside, which is a nonprofit organization. And we looked at opportunities where Western could get involved with options to support the citizens of the City of Riverside who may be in need of food and goods as a result of the pandemic. So through our engagement, we were given options where our employees could donate. There were several different options presented to us. And we, as a group with our wellness and our event committee members, decided on supporting the seniors that live at the Victoria Manor housing complex. And what we did was we asked for donations from our staff in order to prepare, and you can, excuse me, go ahead, Spencer, and go to the next slide. We asked for donations which would allow us to purchase these items that were so needed by the seniors within this community. And we were able to, and this is, really warms my heart to be able to tell you that we had employees donate more than $1,600. $1,610 were donated generously by our staff. And we also had a $100 gift card that was donated to Western, which we chipped in for this effort. And we were able to secure these items. There's food, dry goods that are shelf stable, as well as household items ranging anywhere from, like you can see, the tissues, toilet paper, toothbrushes, hand soap, hand sanitizer, the things that we may take for granted because they're readily available to us, which these seniors were in such dire need for. So we purchased these items with the money that was donated. We partnered with Strategic Communications to be able to use our Western shopping bags to put the donated items into. And we were able to give 109 bags of donated goods to the houses, or the seniors, that live at the Victoria Manor Senior Complex. And can we go to the next slide? I'm not sure what we have up there. I want to thank our employees who donated their time to come and help us put the bags together. We had tremendous support from the administrative services team. That's Cindy Bone, and we have Terry Patton there, and I'm trying to see Casey Escutia, and I believe the other person is Nikita Lowe. And they were Johnny on the spot to come right on in and help us put these bags together. Can we go to the next slide, please? And then there's Nikita on the right and Casey on the left. Casey was very instrumental in helping me deliver all of these items. We had tremendous help from Thomas and Eric, who loaded up every one of these bags into our 2 different vehicles, and we drove them over to the drop-off site. And there should be some more pictures. I'm going to go to the next slide. There we go. The folks that we dropped these off to, which is the Love Riverside nonprofit group, they are the individuals who actually took the bags to the senior complex, as well as the City of Riverside Representative Aggie Padilla is her name. They were overwhelmed. They were so grateful and so thankful for the donations. And, it just really is a testament to our employees who are so generous and so giving. And so I want to tremendously thank those who donated. Thank you so much. We'll have other opportunities throughout the year in order to provide assistance to our citizens within the City of Riverside that we provide water to as well. But I want to thank our committee members for helping out. That's the Wellness and the Event Committee. I want to thank Pam Davis specifically in HR. She is a shopper extraordinaire. And the admin team, again, thank you so much for all of your help. And those who helped put these items in the vehicles for us, Eric and Thomas. It takes a team, it takes an effort to do these things, but it is really from the bottom of our hearts that we wanted to show the citizens of the City of Riverside that we care. And so to that, I will close and answer any questions if there are any.
All right, thank you very much, Candy. Any questions from the board?
Well, no, just a comment. Underneath this mask is a really big smile. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear since we can't see that. This is just a fantastic program, and thank you so much for the staff that's being so generous with their time, with their funds, with their giving. And it's a real testament to our staff here and our commitment and dedication to not just service, but caring. So there's quite a difference in that. So just comments. Any other board members' comments?
I'd just like to echo some of that and thank our staff for their involvement and their caring here. It really is heartwarming. Makes me glad to be here.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, Mr. Rogers used to say, look for the helpers, and I am glad that we can look within our organization and find them. Thank you so much for what you've done. I know this is just the tip of what we've been able to do during the pandemic, and I'm happy to collaborate or help next time there is an opportunity.
Okay.
I would like to say the same thing. Amazing job. As staff knows, I run a nonprofit, so it takes a lot of effort, a lot of collaboration. So thank you, staff, and I would love to be a part of it moving forward. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Carry on.
Just a couple other updates here. Tim, we'll put your presentation up. We have a little presentation about Victoria Recharge Basin, but we're in a hurry. We'll put that off for the next meeting. Let me do my verbal.
It's not time sensitive. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me do my verbal updates. Our coronavirus update. We continue to hover around the $600,000 mark of unpaid balances. We did dip below that last week. We were in the 580,000 range. We're back up to 600,000, so it continues just kind of hover around. No new cases of COVID internally, so that's great news. And we just continue to march forward in the same path that we've been marching forward. Wanted to highlight our outreach on our rate adjustment program. So we continue to have a very aggressive outreach program. We completed meetings at Raglan on Thursday the 22nd. We had a Riverside-focused customer information session, actually 2 of them that day. We also had a Marietta-focused customer information session last Wednesday night. We have 2 more sessions, one on May 10th at 6 p.m. in the Riverside area, and then one May 12th at 6 p.m. in the Riverside area, and then we'll also be appearing at the Woodcrest MAC meeting on May 13th. I also reported last board meeting that we had a leak on the Mills gravity line. Happy to say that our staff planned for a 10-hour shutdown to evaluate that. We did the shutdown, and within about 5 hours, our staff was actually able to fix it. So it's back into full operation. So congratulations to our staff. Great job getting all of our customers back online quickly. That completes my comments today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Okay, moving on to director's reports. For SAPA, I will go ahead and kick this off. So we had a very nice presentation from Mr. Mosier today. We did adopt the budget and pass that forward. So that is all taken care of. And then one item of in particular interest that I wanted to bring to the attention of this board that falls within our service territory, there is a piece of property that is undeveloped in the Harupa area. It's just over an acre. And there were some questions as to what we were going to do with this undeveloped piece of property. There is a nonprofit group that wants to come forward to help disadvantaged communities with perhaps doing a community garden there on that site and location. So a number of questions were asked in regard to, I brought up the land use issue. It is sitting in a residential area, and so there's a couple of zoning requirements and questions that I had in terms of using that property and how it was going to be split. And then there was a section also to be used for the storage of brine line equipment and different types of things that SAPA has within its stuff. So there are some questions being done, and there's going to be some outreach too, because obviously a community garden, if there are people involved in doing any training or collection of all those goods there as the produce grows, there will be an increase in traffic in a residential area. So we want to reach out to the immediate area of impact to make sure that this is an acceptable use as well. So as we continue to look on that, I will continue to keep you updated on that process. And that is about all I have to report. Thank you. Moving on to Director Galliano, Met updates.
Well, it's this general manager search is continuing on. I'll be traveling to Los Angeles on Thursday, and we will spend all day Friday and make a decision at 3 o'clock on Saturday on a new general manager. So, and I don't really have anything to report on Chino Basin other than the court hearing was Friday, and they kicked the can down the road again. So,
Don, who's up in the running for general manager?
I'm not at liberty to say anybody's name.
The candidates generally are confidential. Okay. Director Torres, they don't release that, just like we're not releasing it for WRCOG or anybody else.
I'll have a report for you next week.
Okay. CDA, Director Torres.
Tomorrow.
Okay. RICRA, Director Risby.
Yes, so we met on April 22nd. We adopted the budget for fiscal year 2021. We established a rate to be changed for conveyance, treatment, and disposal of wastewater. We directed member agencies to present the fiscal year 21-22 budget to their governing boards for approval, and we authorized an administrator to open annual purchase order totaling in $1,723,000 for fiscal year 2021 and 22 that exceeded the board approved purchase authorization limit of 60. So we all approved it.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to WRCOG. So WRCOG is continuing to do the interviews for the replacement of the executive director, Rick Bishop, who is retiring. And so we will be conducting those interviews shortly. We also wanted to recognize Conservation Appreciation Month for the month of May. So that is something that we hopefully will highlight as well. And we also talked about the virtual platform and the awards that will be given out at the General Assembly, and that General Assembly is scheduled for June 24th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It will unfortunately be virtually again this year, but we are certainly hoping that our board of directors can join us at that. It is usually interesting, and I believe the speaker that we have is somebody coming from the show Shark Tank. So it might be very engaging and entertaining to be on that virtual platform this year. So with that, that is all updates I have with WRCOG. And then SARA, our meeting has been postponed and moved from this month, and so I will have something hopefully next month. Okay, moving on to director's comments. Any director's comments today? We'll move down the list. Director Gardner.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, Director Galliano.
No thanks.
Okay, Director Torres.
I don't have any comments. Thank
Okay,
you.
Director Risby.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, folks, future requests for future agenda items. Anybody want to queue up on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead. The information items are for your review at your leisure. And at this time, we will go ahead and move into closed session. It should take us about 5 minutes or so to get that set up and move into closed session. Mr.
President
Frey,
Denstead, I would like to take item 11C first
Okay,
in closed session.
all right. Any other comments about closed session from legal counsel?
No, thank you, Madam President.
Okay,
We'll go on all three items today.
great. So give us just a minute and we'll set up for closed session.
Just testing. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes. Oh.
Perfect. We are ready to go.
Are you good? You can go ahead and do that announcement.
Yes, thank you. Taking roll call. Director Galliano.
Yes, I'm here.
Director Rizvi.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Director Gardner.
I am here.
Director Torres. Director Torres. Director Denstedt.
I am here. Thank you very much.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Director Torres.
Okay.
President Denstedt, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go ahead and report out of closed session. Legal counsel, Mr. Ferre.
Yes, Madam President, the board met in closed session on items 11A, B, and C as listed on the agenda. There's no reportable action on any of those items today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferre. Okay, seeing any other business, we've not missed anything on today's agenda? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, folks, we'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for your attendance today. And for those board members who weren't able to make it here in person today, you might want to check the dais at your earliest convenience, because there might be some good things here for you upon your arrival back in our building. And we certainly look forward to our future moving forward in person at the dais here for the board. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Cinco de Mayo.
Thank you.